Hello, sisters, and welcome to the Art of Spiritual Living online retreat. My name is Elizabeth Foley. I am a creative catalyst and an artist. I help women get over their creative blocks and get in touch with their inner creative spirit. Today we are joined by Lou Reed, and we are going to be exploring her Flower of Life medicine wheel process, which is a deep dive into the story of you, and it's about exploring manifestation and identifying our 6 core needs. But before I tell you more about Lou, who I'm super excited to share with you today because she is just awesome and incredible, I want to take a couple of moments to just tune inward and all of us get really present here together. So I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes with me right now for a moment and just bring your attention to your breath. Just noticing your breath as it's passing in and out of your body. Noticing your chest as it's rising and falling. Feeling your breath as it's passing in and out of your nostrils. And now noticing anything that's come before this moment, anything that's weighing on you or keeping you from being fully present. Let's take a deep breath in together. And as we exhale, just let that go. And now noticing anything that's coming in the future, anything you're worried about or nervous about, anything on your to-do list for the day. Let's take a deep breath in together. And as we exhale, just let that all go. Now let's take one last deep breath together, just bringing ourselves fully into this moment, right here, right now. I'm going to invite you to just keep your eyes closed for one more moment while I share with you today's reading. This is from Tea with the Midnight Muse by Shiloh Sophia, and it is called This Is No Ordinary Day. This is no ordinary day, but then none of them are. I mean, what if you are not who you think you are? What if who you really are hasn't even happened yet? What does it feel like to consider that your whole life may well be in front of you instead of behind you? There are places between places where the true mind and the true heart connect. This is the only place from which to make choices. Open your closed off places, even if it hurts. Pull off the scabs today. Yes, right now. There is an upswell inside you. You were given no language for it. It is that which now begs to be said. Do you know what it is? Are you willing to look, to listen, to feel? Or will you stay where you are, gazing out the window of the past, wondering where all the good days have gone? The upswell you feel is the gift in you waiting to be born again, waiting to rush onto the pages of your life and consume every mediocre thing in its path. Do you think it is wise to wait? Wise to count the cost until the opportunity passes? The upswell won't make logical sense on paper. It won't want you to tell your friends what you are up to. But I tell you this, if it is the last thing I ever tell you, follow the upswell of your emotional heart where it leads you. Yes, of course, you will be hurt, but you will be hurt regardless. Didn't anyone tell you? This is a part of becoming more human. So I'm going to invite you to open your eyes and join us. I am so excited to introduce to you today Lou Reed. Lou Reed is the founder and CEO of the Energy Medicine Institute and Tribal News TV, an online campus for all things regular schooling forgot to teach you, a place where ancient wisdom meets modern science. Lou offers world-class training that allows you to create remarkable transformation in all dimensions of your being, mind, body, soul, and human connections. Lou reflects the wholeness of the human experience by combining writing, art, and energy to align your 3 levels of consciousness, bringing you back into alignment with the unique story of you, your living masterpiece. Your life is your art. Nothing will satisfy you more than creating your world from the song of your heartbeat. In the last 20 years, Lou has guided thousands of creative warriors around the world to come alive and reignite their passion through teaching, coaching, sold-out events, and sought-after online training. Lou is a catalyst for inspiring others to rediscover their innate wild creative spirit, to trust, to write and share their untold stories, and recreate their lives one act of courage at a time. Welcome, Lou. It's so nice to have you today.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, everybody.
So, Lou, before we dive into the work that you're going to be guiding us in today, I would just love to ask you, what does it mean to you to live a spiritual life?
For me, to live a spiritual life is to have a daily practice where I allow myself to be a clear channel, to be of service to my beloveds. So whether that is Mother Earth, whether my beloveds, whether it's the cosmos, whatever the universe requires my service in the day. So it's always, and as I move through the day, I'm mindful when I come off path, and then I'll gently bring myself on path. And that is a practice. That takes a little while to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. What did your daily practice look like today, for example?
Yep. So for today, angels have been showing up for me lately. So I've been working with them, and they're downloading a lot of information. One of them is actually, they've asked me to stop working with intention and to work with purpose. They've shared with me that because of free will, when I declare my purpose and then I ask for what help I need, then they're able to intervene. So I with my guides in the morning. Then I do some cosmic smash booking with the lovely Kat Geller. And then I go about my day, but it's more about the mindfulness that I bring to each experience as I move through the day. And now of keeping me on path, and when I feel that something's happening, I pause, give it attention, and make a choice on, do I alter my path, or do I work with it when I get home in my cosmic smash booking? So it's more of a daily living than a morning practice. It used to be a morning practice, but then I found that, it was like the yoga teacher doing a yoga training and being peaceful and coming out and getting in the car and yelling at the people when they're reversing out of the car. And so I started to have a daily practice.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about what you're going to be guiding us in today.
Sure. So today we're going to do the Flower of Life medicine wheel. And it's an invitation to pause and take a 360-degree look of where we are. In particular, are we in the center of our life? Quite often we aren't. We have life experiences that bump us out of center. And quite often as women, we can put other people in the center of our life, and our life becomes about others rather than self.
Yeah.
And so it's really getting curious about where are we in our life and how do we meet our 6 core needs. And my invitation is to expand your thinking around each core need so that you can blossom into, like a bud opening out, into the full beauty of who you are, and allow your beauty to radiate out into the universe. As we move through the core needs, they're done in a particular way because they're like a solid foundation that guides us to self-actualization, which is a secret to manifesting. So my work is all about the art of manifesting and how to align ourselves to our pure potential. So we're manifesting from our pure potential rather than from our wounded stories.
That's so important. I know that there has been times in my life and things that I've put all this energy into manifesting, and then I get them and then I go, wow, I'm not even sure I really wanted this. It's important that if you're going to create something that's in alignment with what serves you the best,
Exactly. And it's such a great statement because when we live through our wounded stories, that informs our choices and our thoughts. So we think we want something, but in actual fact, it's really a deeper motivation, that it's some kind of a core need that hasn't been met. And quite often we reach out and meet our needs in unhealthy ways, which is what was modeled to us when we were children. And unless we pause and uncover, am I meeting my need in a healthy way or an unhealthy way, it really impacts all areas of our life.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, so get your journal and some either watercolor markers, watercolor pens, pencils, whatever you have at home is perfect. And so first thing we're going to do is actually draw the flower. Now, I put it up there because it doesn't feel right to have a blank page, but where we start is just at the top petal. We're going to bring it down into the center. So just creating that top petal. And then generally I go to the bottom from there. So I just take it down from the center and just creating this, really it's a crescent moon shape. Yep, so we've got the top petal and the second petal. And then we go over here to the corner and we're just bringing it back into center. Just creating the petal from the tip coming back into center. And then we go to the bottom, pulling it back into the center, creating that petal shape. And I really invite you to bring your awareness to the tip of whatever it is you're using so that you're bringing all of your consciousness online. Then we go to the top right and just bringing it back into center. You don't need to be able to draw to do this, just allow yourself to have fun. And then the bottom right corner. So we created a 6-petal flower. And I just like to put a little thing in the middle because I like to, not quite sure why. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go around and explore each petal and spend a few minutes just exploring our current story around petal. Some people may call story beliefs. I love to call them a story. So in this bottom petal, we're going to call this basic. Now, with our basic needs, quite often people think of it as food, water, shelter, and that is true. However, I would also like you to consider, with your basic needs, sensuality and sexuality is a key part of our basic needs, because if we don't reproduce as human beings, then there is no more human race. So I'd love you to consider, if you imagine that 0 is the center of the petal and 10 is the bottom of the petal, I'm going to invite you to make a mark on where you feel you are. So for example, if it was 5, you'd put a line halfway through. If it was 2.5, you'd put a line about a quarter of the way. And if it's 7.5, it would be about 3/4. So my question to you is, where are you currently with your basic needs, taking into consideration, are your sensuality needs and sexuality needs being met, or have you completely shut them down? So on a scale from 0 to 10, where would you feel your basic needs were? Yeah, great. And we'll move around the flower and explore each petal, and then we'll come back and we'll start to unpack some of the meaning and help you get a deeper insight of the current story that you're playing. With safety, I'd love for you to consider that if 10 included you being able to be your unedited true self with everyone in your life. Quite often people think of safety as external safety, and I'm inviting you to expand your thinking around your internal safety. Are you safe enough to speak your truth in all areas of your life? Are you safe enough to say no, or ouch, that hurt? So if that was a 10, I'd love you to mark where you are on your safety continuum, with 0 being the center of the flower and 10 being the end of the petal. I'm mindful that this is stretching your thinking, but that's really what it's all about, to really start to see why your external life looks the way it does, and it always starts with the internal journey. So our next petal is around love and belonging. Oops, got love wrong, isn't it funny? That's interesting. Belonging. It's kind of hard to write sideways. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to invite you to consider that love and belonging as a 10 would be you being able to love unconditionally, unedited, showing your true self without hiding any aspect of self. And that would be a 10. So if love and belonging was a 10, if that was a 10, where would you be on your love and belonging story? And then just color that in. So I also invite you to do it with playful curiosity rather than self-punishment. This isn't an opportunity to self-punish. It's simply an invitation to see a moment in time in your life so that you're empowered to make choices. So the next one that we're going to look at is, once we move into basic and safety and love and belonging, the next one is esteem. So where do you feel that you sit on the continuum of self-esteem? Imagining that 10 is you actively clear on your life purpose and you are out in the world working with your beloveds. You've called your tribe in. So if self-esteem is a 10 when you're living your life purpose, being of service to your beloveds, speaking your truth, sharing your message, where would you currently sit in esteem? It's really interesting. The questions we ask ourselves determine the power of the answers that we get. And when we feel esteem, yes, I'm confident in life, and you may well be confident in life, but we can allow our life to become so small. That's why we're confident. Whereas if we were to stretch ourselves outside of our current story, how would our self-esteem show up? Yeah, beautiful. And so now we are going to move around to beauty. Interestingly enough, as women, we tend to trade beauty really quickly. So I'm going to invite you to explore the opportunity of, what does your internal beauty look like? Is your inner wisdom giving you loving messages, telling you how amazing you are, how you're radiating your light out into the world? Again, we can be so focused on external beauty, but we may be accessing it in unhealthy ways. When we look within and see, what is our internal beauty? What are those inner thoughts and feelings that I have inside of myself? What does it look like when nobody's around? That's kind of where we want to get into, those core feelings that are really living in our subconscious and shaping our choices in life and our self-talk. Cool. Okay. Then the last one, once we've moved around from basic to safety to love and belonging, esteem and beauty, we then step into self-actualization. So self-actualization is, I'd love you to consider, if self-actualization was you being your unedited true self in the world, outside of your family and friends, with your tribe, and actively being of service and giving back to the world. So whether you're being of service through your community, whether you're being of service as an online community like Amber and yourself, but are you actively out there in the world doing things for others? And if that was a 10, where would you be on the continuum of self-actualization? It's so interesting how our mind can, our subconscious is like a well-behaved 5-year-old. It does exactly what it's told. And so its primary purpose is to keep us safe. And as our world starts to shrink, we can feel like we're being self-actualized in the world and being of service. But when we start to expand our definition of our 6 core needs, we can start to see where we're meeting them in unhealthy ways. So now the big reveal. Elizabeth, are you open to showing us your flower?
I am. I think it's very interesting what has come up.
So what is one new insight that you've gained about your current story that you didn't know before?
Well, I thought it was really interesting that most of mine were kind of right around the 5 level. So like there's a certain amount of feeling kind of good with them, and then also this like awareness of a lot of opportunity for growth. And I just thought it was interesting how much all around the circle they all kind of stayed there. Self-actualization actually felt a little bit more, especially just because I'm doing this work right now, and I just came from some place where I was doing a lot of service work. And so also noticing that if we did this again in 6 months, or even 2 months, it would be very different. Same thing for.
And let me ask you, why do you think it would be different?
Well, because there's kind of ebb and flow to things, and like with the self-actualization, it's like I just came from a place where I was in service 80% of the time. That's something I do every year around this time, but 2 months from now, I might not be in that same place,
Exactly. And also what I find is that when we can see exactly where we're at, then it gives us a lot of information. So do you mind if I just have a quick look at your flower and maybe share some insights to help your beloveds read them? So for a starters, you're saying a lot of them are around 5. And so that kind of can show up by playing it safe. So do you tend to kind of play it safe and not take necessarily a lot of risks in life? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty fair to say, yeah.
Great. And let me have a look. I noticed that your esteem is a little lower. And so generally when we have one that's slightly lower, we go back to the petal before. We don't actually look at the one that's low. And so the one before that is love and belonging. And so I would lean in and have a look at the love and belonging and see where you can tend the places that you can tend. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that we actually don't work on the petal that's low. It's saying that the one before isn't solid, that we want to come back to that. So for me, for my flower of life, I like to work at sitting at around about an 8 for each one. Because I love to have some mystery. I love to have a wild card. I love to have space where new can show up. So I invite you not to necessarily, I'm a recovering perfectionist. For all those recovering perfectionists out there, you may like to be happy to sit at an 8 and leave space for new to show up and to be surprised by life.
I love that.
I would go to, my suggestion is, and this is the first step of the 29-day challenge, which is the free offer. So what I do is I deep dive in the challenge and spend 4 days in each of the core needs. And we explore the core needs through 4 actions. The first action is a video prompt to help you connect in with the story or the thread that is creating that level of what do I want to say? The number that's showing up in your petal. Then in day 2, we explore your core need through a writing prompt, which is a journeying, a guided visualization. And then you come out of the writing prompt and there's some questions that you can journal around to help activate, take the thread that you're following and link different parts to it that you may not have seen before. And then on day 3, we deep dive into a art prompt, intentional creativity, where we find a symbol and a word that is a key of taking us to our pure potential, to our 10. So that if we find that we're moving through the day, if we find that we're moving through the day and we're off path, then we can use that symbol and that key to take us right back into the 10. Then what we do is on the last day, through an energy prompt, we work with our unconscious mind and we integrate the work we've done. So quite often a lot of people in personal development will work in the conscious mind only. But to get sustainable change, it's really important to bring our 3 levels of consciousness online.
Mm.
So the writing prompt works with the conscious mind, the art prompt works with our subconscious mind through image, and then our energy prompt works with the unconscious mind, bringing all three levels of consciousness online. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, when we bring our levels of consciousness online, we access our pure potential. And so that allows us to step into self-actualization and start creating and manifesting a business and life that we love.
Mm. You know, as you're talking, I'm kind of feeling in more to what you were saying about that my flower of life shows you that love and belonging is the place where work is for me. I'm just reflecting on that because I've been away for about 10 days at this gathering that I go to every year. And one of my biggest takeaways from that was so many people, I didn't go last year, and so many people were telling me how much they missed me and how much they were glad I was there. And then just today, I've kind of dived back into my regular life. And again, I got this message of all these people saying like, oh, we missed you so much and we're so glad you're here. And those messages were just really resonating for me. And they're all about like love and belonging. So that's
and so my question to you would be, are you open to receiving? Is that energy landing in your body?
Mm.
So what shows up in the external world is generally a reflection of our internal world. So if people are telling you they're missing you, then some part of you needs to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So some part of you isn't hearing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm definitely in the inquiry of like, how can I receive more? How can I be open to receiving more?
Yeah. And for me, I found that it's more of, for me, it was opening my heart. Through life, things had happened and my heart had closed down. And it wasn't until I was able to tend that wound and put some love into my heart that I was able to receive love.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also really resonating with what you're saying, that the deeper work of this is in like your gift, that because we can't process this all in our conscious mind, right? Like that's only just this one layer of this kind of work, you know. So much of it is all this stuff that we've internalized and sometimes even like hidden from ourselves. We have to go at it from a different angle. So.
Yeah. So for those that may not know, I am a bit of a science geek. So for those that may not know, our conscious mind takes in 134 pieces of information per second.
Wow.
But our subconscious takes in 2 million bits of information per second. So that what we call intuition is our subconscious sending messages through saying, oh, warning, warning, or hey, we want more of that. And what happens is what determines the 134 pieces of information is the filters or the stories that we carry. So if we carry a story of I'm not good enough, then the only information that is extracted from the 2 million bits is the 134 of I'm not good enough, even though there's all of this other bits of information. So when we work with all three levels of consciousness, sorry, my little doggy always sits at my feet and he's lying on my on my earpiece. So when we work with all levels of consciousness and we tap into the subconscious, then we're able to access all the mystery, all those parts of ourselves that we surgically removed because we didn't feel like they fit in. And that's where our resources are. So women can quite often feel like I'm under-resourced or I'm overwhelmed, and that is because they are. The parts of themselves that could show up and have the resource for their experience, they removed. Whether it was, I know for me, I remember when I was a child, I was in an art class and I was sitting next to someone and we were asked to draw a horse, and mine had 8 legs and it was pink and purple polka dots and had a horn out of its head. And the girl next to me drew a 4-legged brown horse with one head. And the teacher walked straight past me and went, what a beautiful horse. And I went, I'm not good enough. And I never did art again for 40 years. And so that part of myself woke up the day I received an email from Shiloh. And then I came back into art. But so much of ourself we surgically remove, and then we feel under-resourced, and it's reclaiming those parts that allows us to step into our power. And that's what really this is about. It's reclaiming those lost parts of self so that we can move through life resourced in the center of our life.
That's really beautiful. And I love the invitation, like that this is to become aware of what's going on for you, and then would really encourage each of you watching to sign up for Lou's free gift and really start unpacking it some more, because that's what that gift, it'll help you go from just awareness to healing some of those pieces.
And on the last day of the challenge, we come back and do the Flower of Life. So on day 1 and day 29. And I haven't had anyone yet that hasn't had an 8 in all areas. It really helps us identify the wounded stories that we're holding that are keeping us small. And what I love about the flower is that even if we're a 3 in everything, it's not a punishing, it's like a bud of a flower opening out into our beauty. It's a metaphor for who we are as women. And beauty is a big one. A lot of women feel like they have beauty, but it's in an unhealthy way. I used to be compulsive about makeup and hair and clothes and you know, the perfect car and the perfect boyfriend. But when I started doing this work, I realized my internal beauty was a 0. I was repulsed at my reflection, and I was meeting my core needs in unhealthy ways to try and compensate for my feelings. And so it's not a self-punishment, it's really just a where are you at, and an invitation to explore your definition of each petal so that you can start to expand into who you're becoming and claim your space in this dimension.
I love that, Lou. I'm writing it down right now, that it's not about self-punishment, it's about where you're at. It's great. So easy.
It's just playful curiosity. That's all we're about. Is let's lean in and explore where we're at from a place of love so that we can move into self-actualization and start to be of service to the world. Yeah. Share our gift, our medicine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you all, but I am feeling really inspired by Lou's message today, and I'm really excited to see what your flowers look like. So I hope that you will come over into our Facebook group and share them. And I also hope you'll sign up for Lou's free gift and take advantage of that. And if you do, I'd love to hear how that journey goes for you as well. Thank you so much for being with us today, Lou. It's really been a pleasure having you. I'm so pleased you're able to join us.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share my medicine with your tribe.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And thank you to each of you for taking time out of your day to join us today. Blessings all.